Welcome to Shareholder Q&A via satellite, production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to invite shareholders to pose questions directly to management and then have management answer them online. With us today, I'm happy to have Jim Briscoe. He's President and CEO of Liberty Star Uranium. The company trades under the stock symbol LBSR in the U.S. Now, as this is an interview for the benefit of current shareholders, there's no need for my typical preamble when we're doing productions for new shareholders. That's because shareholders of Liberty Star Uranium, in my mind, are amongst the most informed group of investors I've ever seen. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you who participated and took time to submit great questions and some tough questions and made yourself part of the process. With us today to answer those is going to be Jim. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, George. This is a wonderful opportunity for me because these questions have been well stated, and it's always my pleasure to answer any question related to anything that Liberty Star does. And it's always nice to see such good questions. And I don't think they're difficult to answer at all, but the answers are a little bit long. So bear with me, and we'll get through this. And thank you for the opportunity.
No, we appreciate you. We appreciate that you take the time, and long answers is exactly, I think, what everyone's looking for. It means you put some real thought into the answers as opposed to some corporate short answers. So let's get straight to the first set of questions. They come in from H. Kip. This member, I can't say he, but this member's got a couple of questions. First one is, Jim, when will drilling begin? If it's possible to answer, please do so as a temporal response and not a conditional response, i.e. when we get sufficient funding.
All right, H. Kip. We were first hampered by the S1 application, which we had a very, very extended quiet period, and we've never seen anything quite like this. We've done 7 or 8 of these over the last decades, and this is well beyond what we had ever anticipated. But we now have the S1. We are now no longer in the quiet period. We now have a drill permit from the Arizona State Land Department, which actually took almost 4 years to get. And so we're getting closer to being able to predict when we can drill. But to get to drilling, we have to raise money first. And if I could make a perfect prediction of the price of the commodities, in metal commodities, including copper, what the usage and price of copper would be in China, and when there would be no unsettling events like the massacres in Brussels, etc., then we would be able to predict more accurately when the money would be invested. Since we can't do any of these things, we have to rely on other facts, such as the following. 1, we are dead centered in the most prolific copper cluster, the Great Copper Cluster, defined in the 2013 U.S. Geological Survey Bulletin, Circular 1380, page 158, United States-Mexico border. This area is probably the most favorable area in the world to discover new large bodies of copper. This is where we are. We are in a great diminishment of the copper price, but copper is an indispensable part of our human infrastructure, so the price will come back, and it will probably come back with a vengeance. It seems to always, particularly after a prolonged downturn, it seems to always snap back like a rubber band. Because of the price drop-off and the resultant layoffs in the mining industry, prices for services such as drilling, assay, and everything related to drilling are incredibly inexpensive right now. We are talking every day with potential investors, and we are beginning to recognize that at some unpredictable point, we will find the right investor and we will start drilling. We've spent about 4 years getting to this stage, and prior to getting permits in hand, we could not drill. Now we can.
All right. Second question from this member. Do you intend to use a portion of the Tangiers funds for at least an initial start of the drilling?
Yes, Kip, we are getting all the equipment in order now and preparing for mobilization to the field. And we are in fact using some of the S1 funds for this activity, and that is in fact part of the drilling program. So the answer is yes. As of this presentation, we are starting a more aggressive international IR program than we have done for well more than a year. We will continue to work to our best advantage to push the drilling program forward as fast as possible.
All right, that's great. The next set of questions come from L. Vargas. Jim, in your last interview on Agoracom, you said the drilling contractors already applied for the Arizona Water Department permit to start the Hay Mountain first 2 holes of drilling, meaning that as soon as they get the permit, they will start transporting the equipment to the selected holes area.
Well, perhaps I did not state the situation as clearly as I might have. So let me go into more detail on that and restate the situation. When our drilling cash is in hand, we will pay the drilling company first and last month's estimated drilling charges and then obligate to pay them monthly, and the program will officially start. This is a standard contract, and it will include other details pertinent to the drilling. They will mobilize to the site, as will we. Part of this process is getting a water drilling permit from the ADWR, or the Arizona Department of Water Resources. This is a perfunctory permit that is required for all drill holes in the state that penetrate 100 feet or more below the surface and assumed into the water table. This permit assures that when the hole is abandoned, it is backfilled with proper hole sealant, and that's generally chipped bentonite that expands and seals off the water table. That permit should take only a few days and is done by our licensed driller, because it is actually the driller's obligation to get the permit and be competent to do the requirements of the permit. With that in hand, we'll be ready to drill. There's a lot of equipment to move, so moving will take an unknown amount of time, but in the range of days, not weeks or months. We will probably set up a camp at the site to cut down on travel, food, and lodging expenses, and to make it easier, the main 2 12-hour shifts operating 24 hours per day for all of the personnel, including myself. Drilling will continue on this basis until it is complete, with probably only one short break, if any. It's a rigorous schedule, I can tell you that.
Well, Jim, I like the fact that that schedule also applies to you. So you're putting your money, or in this case, your grit where your mouth is. So I think that's pretty impressive. I'm just saying
Well, I've had so many years of experience in geology and drilling and core logging and all of that, that sometimes I can see either ways that we could do things better or identify a particular situation almost instantaneously and almost as a gut reaction that might take less experienced people more time. So I'm probably the most knowledgeable one on the geology of this region, and we have a very good driller that I've spent a lot of time discussing things with, and I want to be there right on hand to make sure things go well, and that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I love that. I love that answer. So Jim, on to the next question from this member. What will be next or after the 2 or 10 drilled holes, hoping that they do have good results with good grades of copper, gold, moly, zinc, silver, and maybe uranium. That's a lot of great results that that Vargas is asking for there. But what would be next?
Well, we hope to drill 12 vertical holes to a depth of 2,000 feet each. And the depth will ultimately be dictated by what we intersect in each hole. We will be using a new machine developed in Australia called the Solids Recovery Unit, or SRU unit. This helped with a state permit because it keeps any drill cuttings out of the environment, which they're very sensitive to. But this will allow us to assay drill cuttings from the drill hole as it is drilled downward, and see News Release 195 on this. Thus, we will have an immediate result before the core is actually removed from the hole as to what it is assaying. After the core is pulled from the hole in 10-foot runs, it will be cleaned carefully and boxed, and then logging procedures including high-resolution photography performed on each and every inch of the core will be done. The core will then be sawed in half along its length with a diamond impregnated saw at the camp, and half of it will be put into a bag by the supervising geologist, who has ultimate responsibility to make sure that nobody gets close to the core and tries to introduce foreign substances, or what's in the old days called salting, that would change the assay of the core. This is a result of the Bre-X scandal of about 20 years ago. And at any rate, that core will be sequestered under lock and key for shipment to a certified assay lab, and the other half relogged and photographed and boxed and shipped periodically to our Tucson warehouse for secure permanent storage. We'll be drilling in the copper moly gold zone, which we know the location of from our vegetation geochemistry that you've already heard about. Other metal zones will be drilled in the future.
Next question. When do you think the production stage or phase will commence? And I think Vargas may have got some info mixed up here, but it says, and you said it should be 365, 24/7, 365.
Yes, that timing refers to the drill schedule, which
right.
24/7 and 365, assuming that we get good results and raise money as we go along. I want to drill continuously, if at all possible. So we will continue to raise money, and we'll continue to drill per the schedule I just described. Ideally, the drilling exploration will be continuous through phase 1 and 2, and actually phase 3, and this is detailed in a graphic that you can see. Drills will be added as needed, so we'll have enough data to prepare a bankable feasibility study, and it's quite possible that we could have 4 or more drills operating during this period, and that's going to require about $90 million of drilling. I have to remind everybody, this is not the typical Canadian small ore body. This may be a monster, and we don't know until we drill, but the geochem and geophysics all suggest this, as well as its position in the copper cluster. So the drill data from the extended drilling program will allow design and financing of the mine from banks or other investors, hence the term bankable feasibility study. Hay Mountain will be a multi-extraction mining district. If a shallow program is feasible, we could see an in situ or heap leach operation occurring within 7 years, or even perhaps less, while a deep open pit or underground mine could take at least a decade. This is about average for a large, actually it's faster than average. The average larger American mine takes about 14 years, and the long time span is largely due to permitting requirements by various state and federal agencies. Uh, and the potential for this project is to result in a very large mine. So we want continuity on this project because we will also be working on the permitting just as soon as it looks like we've got a very large mine that we've captured, and we will use every possible efficiency to reduce that time down to as low as possible. And this will include outreach to the local population in Cochise County and the surrounding towns of Tombstone and Bisbee and Douglas and Wilcox and so forth. These people are very knowledgeable because their ancestors, if not themselves, have been involved in mining, but they're also very interested to find out what's going on. So we want to be proactive and not allow unfounded rumors to circulate. So this will be a very active process. You can refer to the timetable in the Phase 1 infographic on our website to see a schematic of the steps that must be undertaken to do all of this and their estimated costs. And these estimates, we've spent a lot of time in deriving from a 5,000 line program that one of our business geologist associates has done. And so these are not idle numbers, but quite accurate.
I'm going to ask you a quick side question there, and you can just make it a yes or no, because I know we're going to get into the other shareholders' question. But you mentioned earlier this isn't a typical Canadian kind of situation. Question for you though: once in a while you do see, and actually more often than not, when junior explorer companies get the tiger by the tail, quite often what to do is sell the project to a larger mining company that can undertake all of the expertise necessary in order to raise the funds and build mines and so on and so forth. So is that something that you're going to be open to if that opportunity ever arises?
If it is a carefully done funding effort, perhaps. But we think that this is going to be such a high-grade potential and such a astounding mine, and I have to tell you that the whole story has not yet been told because we can't tell you yet, but we are working on that. We think that the financing possibilities will be very good, and I will tell you that our director, Brett Gross, who is both a mining engineer, entrepreneur, and lawyer for a very large company, will be instrumental in helping us along this path. There is a lot of outstanding potential that is headquartered as a home base in Tucson, and there are plenty of competent people to execute the plan. And the plan is going to be somewhat unique because of my interest in providing what I call the Briscoe no-seam mine, or the Briscoe mine concept, which is a mine plan that obscures the view of the mine so that it looks no different than the surrounding hills, and there will be no pollution or aesthetic problems. And when the last ton of ore is mined, the last ton of overburden or waste will be put in place, and the last vegetation will be planted, and then complete remediation will be done. This has not been done before, but I have presented it, and it was enthusiastically received.
Mark, thanks for that great answer there. Jim, the last question here from Vargas states as follows. You and some of the board members went to the Far East and the Middle East looking for investors to fund phase 1 of Hay Mountain drilling project. Did any of those international investors get really interested, or will they ever invest in Hay Mountain's drilling project?
There was interest, and there is still interest. And in fact, just in the last few days, Saudi Arabia has made a news release from their young minister of oil operations, I think, that they will be getting out of oil and investing in other endeavors, and we hope that maybe one of these endeavors might be Hay Mountain. We can never tell, but we were there. We did talk with the head of the Geological Survey and a variety of other people in Saudi Arabia on Hay Mountain. But who would have known at that time, and we certainly didn't, that shortly after our visit, the Arab Spring took place, which then gestated into ISIS, and that's where we are now. But as long as we remain a greenfield project, foreign investment will be difficult. Keep in mind, it has little to do with Hay Mountain itself, but the economic pattern of investments. And there is a tradition of not investing in greenfields projects by many government corporations. Remember, America and now Canadian mining companies and investors are adventurous risk takers, and it has paid off in the standard of living we've attained in the 20th century. The potential is still there, and particularly in the copper cluster, and we're right on the verge of drilling after 4 years of work and, quite frankly, bureaucratic delay. Other companies' greenfield projects are not getting funding while we are not. It is a problem for all of us without proven reserves, period. However, we do have an interest in several large international companies, just no deal yet. If we intersect strong mineralization in this upcoming drilling program, I predict there will be a rush to invest in us, primarily by large companies or governments. Once discovery is made, which could be very high grade, for example, 5 to 30% for the first ore struck at Bisbee, as reported by maybe one of the best exploration and mining geologists the world has ever seen, and that's Dr. F.L. Ransom, who is now deceased. But he mentioned in, sorry for the ringing phone there.
That's okay.
He mentioned in his 1905 professional paper that the grades at Bisbee were between 5 and 30% for the ore struck and an ore reserve established. It is very conceivable that if there is indeed a strong amount of mineralization, as every one of our tests indicate there is, then we could well intersect those types of grades. Now, I don't believe that will be the average grade of the mine, but I think it could well be high grade. I believe there will be plenty of interest in investing in Hay Mountain if that occurs, and additional cash will flow to us quickly and in large amounts.
Well, there's definitely a lot of money out there for proven drilling. That's for sure. So I can probably second that. If you get some high grade results, then you're going to get the attention of a lot of people pretty quickly. Next set of questions come from Rising Star. Rising Star goes on to ask, is there some lesser partial amount that might be adequate to get drilling started with incremental pay-as-you-go financing somehow being used?
Absolutely no. That simply does not work, and we would never get a drilling company to do that, and it would impede our cash raising capabilities. It is not a good bet.
Right. So even if you had a couple $100,000 of the $500,000 available, um, you couldn't just start the program and hope to get the other $300,000 while you're drilling.
No, if I told you that would be a good idea, I would not be doing my fiduciary job as an experienced explorationist and corporate manager. Now you have to remember that I've been in this game for, gosh, it's getting uncomfortably close to 60 years, but certainly 50 years for sure. And I've seen almost every success story from a variety of giants in the industry, and I've also seen scurrilous con jobs and poorly done work from those who were not. And for those that have actually worked in a porphyry copper, which I have, we know that porphyry coppers are not high grade throughout, and in fact there are dead spots in them. If we drill just one or two holes and ran into a dead spot, which I have seen in the porphyry coppers that I've worked in, then we'd walk off and leave $100 billion or $1 trillion ore body perhaps, and that is not acceptable to me. That would increase the risk of failure by enormous proportions through underfunding. I will not take that path. Mob and demob charges are about $16,000 for the drilling company, at least another $10,000 for us. This is trucks and stuff and activities, et cetera, et cetera. The $500,000 would drill at most two holes at an estimated cost of $100 per foot, but perhaps much higher cost because we don't get the volume discount for drilling and all of the contracted activities that no longer apply. The drillers abhor short projects because they don't really make any money in moving their rigs around. They make money drilling holes, and that's what they want to do, and they will give discounts for that. And the intangibles would probably drive the cost higher and perhaps much higher. The risk of failure would go up dramatically. This does a disservice to the company and its shareholders, and I do not want to drill a single hole or a couple of holes at Hay Mountain. That is just too risky. We will need at least $2 million to start, and the purpose is to drill at least 10 holes to 2,000 feet. In the beginning of any new program, the project is results driven as to total depth and location of holes, and we're going to take it slow with one rig and maintain flexibility. So we will drill holes in any of the permitted locations. Mostly they will be vertical, but if there's some reason to drill an angle hole, we can do that. This rig is particularly capable, and I will talk in another program about the capability of the rig, and it's one of the best I've seen.
And the last question from Rising Star is, would you agree that the sale of more shares alone is not a feasible way to fund drilling, although it might be part of some step-by-step payments as mentioned previously?
Well, we continue to look for a joint venture partner or partners, and whoever comes in right now will be able to take advantage of low prices from low commodities pricing and a rare opportunity to drill into the giant that we believe we have as a world-class mineral body. So we believe that there is financing there that is better than what we have had available in the past.
Yeah, and I'll just add in there for Rising Star and everybody out there that selling shares in order to raise funding for exploration companies is pretty difficult. What it really comes down to is how effectively that money is used, and we've already listened to Jim say he's going to be on site permanently 24 hours a day. So so the money's, I presume, is going to be used very, very well. Jim, the last two questions for this segment of the Q&A, because we're going to split up into two because there's some great questions and phenomenal answers coming from you. So the last two questions here are going to be from Man Bear Pig, who may win the award for most innovative username at the same time. But these ones, I like these ones. They're a little bit lighter and more about you and your thoughts. So the first question from Man Bear Pig is, how would you rank this discovery at Hay Mountain in your personal accomplishments? Please be as qualitative as possible, i.e. best, top 3, top 5, etc. I like the way this person puts this question. And just curious as to how you see this. So go ahead.
Well, it is not discovered until we get drill holes into mineralization of ore grade. So assuming that will happen, which I believe it will, it would be the top discovery, without a doubt.
That's as concise and powerful a statement as you could give to a question like that. Second question from Man Bear Pig is, what is your motivation to make Hay Mountain a production reality, other than income? I guess he means personal income to you, which is always a factor. So what are your motivations, Jim, about seeing Hay Mountain through to production?
To me, the chase is fun, and success would be supremely gratifying. I showed the Hay Mountain project to a geologist who worked for the Bingham Canyon mine, and he told me, Jim, this is actually he said doggiest, but I've said poorest. At any rate, the doggiest project I've ever seen. Why, there isn't even room enough to hold the Bingham Canyon mine. Later, with maps, we disproved the big enough problem. Hay Mountain is large enough to hold the Bingham Canyon intrusive and the ore body. We have map presentations which can be distributed, and I believe they may be on our website. Everybody's welcome to look. I think there's a good chance that Hay Mountain and its environs will be bigger and richer than Bingham Canyon. Further, I have lots of engineering, operational, and metallurgical ideas on how we can make discovered mines into ecologically and environmentally positive operations, which will return to the outside observer being as part of the natural terrain before the large ore bodies are even well into production. On completion of their lifespan, which will probably or possibly be as much as 100 years or more, these mines will already be remediated and largely gone back to nature with no pollution component. I have been thinking about these procedures since 1966 and have presented them to the NRC, or the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, meeting in 2006 as part of our uranium exploration procedure, and the concepts were really very well received. We will make this Briscoe no-seam mine plan the subject of another presentation soon, but I want these important new ideas to be brought to fruition and completion under my supervision.
You sound a lot like I sound when I talk to people about a GORCOM, which is 2/3 driven by revenue. You need to feed your family, you need to make money for your shareholders, but you're also 1/3 driven by legacy. You want to leave some great things behind, great discovery, this great mine plan that you got. There's no CMY plan. Is that an accurate way to characterize your motivation here?
Yes, exactly, George. And let me just devolve into a little anecdote. When I was in 1966, when I was 25, I went to a large meeting of the Society of Mines and Mineral Exploration, the SME, And I got up and commented about the aesthetic problems that we have with mine dumps, particularly in the Arizona area and the Southwest, and sat down. And after the meeting, my one of my thesis advisors and later head of the College of Mines and Engineering at the University of Arizona came up and grabbed me by the shoulder and he said, "Jim, you're a very young man. You need to keep your mouth shut and listen, and in a few years, then you can say something." But unfortunately, I was right and he was wrong, because this has become a gigantic burden for the mining industry. And I identified that 50 years ago this year. And so I want to have a big influence on how the mines can be changed. And quite frankly, I don't think it's very difficult. It just takes a little bit of thought and process, and I can do that.
Okay. Jim, that concludes part one, and for everyone at home listening, that concludes part one of the Q&A. And it's no wonder that we've gone this long. It's about 35 minutes because the company had such a quiet period for so long a period of time. And now you've had a lot to say, and the shareholders have a lot of questions. So we're going to end this here, and we're going to continue with part two early next week. And those questions are a little more technical in nature, a little more geological in nature. The questions are going to come in from one of the members, Leif Smith. The other member is Value Pro, and then the final member question is going to come from Kicked Off. But we'll end it there so we can give everyone a chance at home to absorb this and really enjoy it. And then we'll be back, everyone, early next week, Monday, Tuesday, with the second half of the Q&A. So until then, thanks to all of you at home for what you've done to participate. And Jim, thank you very much for the time you're taking to really be thorough.
It was my pleasure, George. Thank you.
Okay. Everyone, have a great day. Have a great week. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.